Hey everybody, it's Stephanie with The Learning Project. I'm back again with another amazing podcast. So let me tell you a story. You know, I'll be on Facebook and on Instagram and all that stuff, right? And I saw that somebody was having like an art show, and I was just like, you know what? I really want to do something different. I want to go somewhere. I just want to explore Spokane. And I met a person that is absolutely amazing that I had to have on my podcast, Shantell Jackson. Let me tell you, legit. The truth, amazing, genuine, vibe, amazing, and very talented artist. So when I went to this art show, I was just amazed by all of the different types of pieces. And she was actually going, she was doing this art show with another person, Tracy, absolutely amazing artist as well. And I just had a really great time. And so I asked Shantell to come on here and have the conversation about art creatives in our community and how can we develop this? What do we need to do? How can we really grow this area? Because so many people say they cannot survive here in Spokane, they leave. We want to talk about the real talk, which is what do we need to do? Like, how can we develop and really encourage the next generation? But a lot of people that are creatives, they have just completely stopped creating. They've lost their inspiration. So we're just going to dive into it today. So Shantell, thank you so much for being here. I am so honored by you being here and taking this time out to really be here. I know you're super busy, so thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and chat with you more and all the vibes.
And just to let y'all know, we're both drinking tea right now. So if you don't have a cup of tea, pull out your cup of tea. I'm drinking green tea. Shantell, what are you drinking again?
Drinking sweet rose tea.
Yes. So cheers. So glad that you're here. So tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what got you started painting in the art world.
Yeah, well, hello everyone. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. If I ever do a podcast, I would have to take some pointers from you on how to do intros. So my name is Shantell Jackson. I am originally from Buffalo, New York, and I moved to Spokane, Washington in 2004 for a job, straight out of undergrad, young. I know nothing. I thought I knew something. And 16 years later, you know, I'm less young. I'm a little more wise, but there's a whole lot I still don't know. Like, I'm learning that I don't know a lot still. And I don't know that we do, but the journey is to live and learn. So not to sound cliche and like a bad card, but really, that's the journey. So I worked at Eastern Washington University for 15 years, had a short stint recently at Washington State University. So my career has really been in higher education. And now I work with Spokane Arts, the local arts organization here. I started 2 weeks ago. So this is week 3. And who knew that this would be my life's work and a part of my journey and where I'm going. So I started creating, I want to say back in 2007. I had a particularly interesting day. I got a phone call from, I don't know if I should tell the whole story. Like, I don't know.
We got this.
You got time? Okay.
We got time.
So, I, like most people, we have human adult relationships with folks. And, I have a relationship with my dad in so much as like, we talk sometimes, right? And so, I had been living in Spokane for about 3 years now, and he had gave me a call to just say like, it's probably like a week or two before my birthday, like to tell me happy birthday. And I'm like, okay, thanks. I mean, my birthday isn't for another week or so, but thank you. And just kind of like all these things of like, I would love to come see you. I'm so proud of you. Just things that, and there's a lot more background, but if you know, right?
Yeah.
If you get the gist, you get the gist of like, fathers who, or parents, I won't even say fathers, but parents who maybe at a time did the best they could with what they had. And so I don't think at that time I had that understanding, and I had a lot of hurt, I had a lot of anger,
Yeah.
a lot of, like, why now? And are you actually gonna make the trip to Washington? Like, are you, because I lived an hour away from you, and that wasn't always the case, right? And so
Right.
I just had a lot of emotions, and I didn't really know what to do. So one thing about my move here, I moved here by myself. I did come to, I had seen the city, I'd seen the campus before I moved. That was a part of the interview. But, in those 3 years, my network was really just kind of small in those that I built around me. And so, and I'm kind of, I kind of roll by myself anyways, right?
Right.
So it was just like, okay, dude, what's the end goal? What are we doing? Like, what is this? And so I was just having a lot of emotions, not to mention, like, I already just had emotions, like, as someone who processes internally, who does a lot of thinking internally, who feels internally.
Yeah.
I really just didn't know what to do with it. So I went to the campus bookstore. I got a pack of 3 canvas. I got some paintbrushes, and I got some paint, just like the basic colors. And I just made whatever. And it felt so good. Like, I just never, I mean, you paint in school and stuff and you play around, but it felt different. And I just couldn't stop. Like, I had stacks. So the canvas panels are, they're, let me show you one. They're flat, it's just a panel. Right? No depth, it's just a panel.
I love that. Oh, by the way.
Thank you.
I like it.
So I got the little blur on, so it's hard to see. Anyways, I was unstoppable. I was painting them little panels, like, I just could not stop. And I was just like exploring different things, different colors, different mediums. And I'm like, this is a new world, and I like it. I like how it feels when I paint. I like how it feels when I create. I like how it feels when I put this color down. I love the way the paint goes on the canvas. I like how it sounds. I like how it physically feels when you're getting that smooth stroke. And so from then, I have not stopped creating.
Oh my goodness.
That was kind of my dive into visual art. However, in college I wrote, so poetry is my first creative love. In college I wrote a lot, and some embarrassing stuff, when you're 18, 20, you just figuring stuff out, and it's just a lot of feelings. And so I wrote a lot. And I would say that was probably my first creative, my whole family is creative on my mom's side. We are just, there's so much that we have. And so I was going to be a creative of some sort. I just didn't know the passion that I have for creating visual art. The dialogue that comes up when creating visual art, and the conversations that you can have with people. So, okay. That's where it all started.
Y'all, let's unpack this, okay? So one of the things that resonated with me is a experience happened to you, and you went to something, and it naturally drew you in, and it brought about healing, understanding. And sometimes I think that's the thing that people do not understand, is that you have to be willing to go and be, you know what I mean? Not be perfect, not know everything about yourself, but just be. There was an article done like in 2014 about Google, and it talked about how they actually had a playroom for adults. And this is how they actually explored creativity. This helped them invent new things. And a lot of times we get to a certain point in our lives as adults, and we just stop doing the things that are considered childish, right? Quote unquote childish. And because we stop doing those things, we stop taking care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically. We stop doing things that we love. And then also too, we stop exploring.
Mhm.
And I think when we stop exploring, we get stuck in a rut, and it makes us feel like, where am I? Who am I?
Right.
And it's interesting to think about a small child who will do pretty much anything. Like, they will pick their nose in public, you know, they will draw something and be like, look what I made. And you're like, that's a little scribble. But for them, that is beauty. That's the art of who they are. It's like the pureness, and even just the simplicity and the newness of something is just so lost in adulthood and what we do and how we do things. And that's the thing that I love about art. I actually used to write a lot of poetry as well. I don't know how good I was, but I know I was always starting it off with that roses are red, violets are blue. And I began to kind of progress from there. But I love that you were able to find something and you were able to create out of that space. Mm-hmm. So when you think about yourself today, what do you feel inspires you to create the work that you do?
Mm-hmm. Well, now, I'm still learning, right? And I feel like I am kind of an emerging artist in terms of notability, right? Like people seeing my work and being like, oh, right, you're an artist, or hey, you're Shantell, or oh my gosh, I saw your work. That feels fairly recent to me. And so I am appreciative of that journey for sure. And I definitely am not, though I'm kind of accepting, like leaning into like, girl, you're an artist. Like, just call it what it is. You're a visual artist, right? And just because it's not your top earner as like a career, right? Whatever. Like, that's just what it is. Like, that's what I was born to do. And so I think I guess to answer your question, what inspires me now is really taking in experiences. So it could be a color palette. For example, I was scrolling through social media and I saw an ad and I love the color palette. And I'm like, ooh, how do I put that in something that I'm going to create? How do I use this weird blue color, this weird orange color?
Yeah.
Really inspired by that, really inspired by nature. Anytime like going to bodies of water, like that just opens me up so much. And I just feel so inspired by the work of nature, by the work of our creator or the creator or whomever the creator is you, but what is exist out there. And so that inspires me to take some of those ideas that I have been stirring and brewing with and figure out how to create an experience. And so I want to create experiences for viewers. And of course, I create a lot of things out of necessity. So I am always creating, I'm always making art because it's what I do. It's need, I have to do it. And then when I'm creating, like there may be some ideas that come to light that I really want to focus on or highlight. And I think explicitly stated ideas really show up in my poetry. Because it's using words and language to describe something, whereas in my artwork, we might have to have a little more conversation about what does this mean? How do you relate this? Or, being able to hear what other people kind of take away from that. And so I'm inspired by, I think a lot about my space and place. So I think about my life experiences. I think about growing up in Buffalo, New York, what that meant. I think about being a child. I think about a Black woman. About being, my upbringing as a Christian and how does that relate to me as an adult? Although I don't go to church on Sundays. And, I think I've adopted a lot of different things that all have the same principles.
They feed your spirit.
That feed my spirit. And it might not be like necessarily the Bible or like in traditional forms, right? And so I think about those experiences. I think about how Christianity did shape me. And so going back to my story of how, and going back to what you were saying, thinking about how art what played that release for me, and how at that point I was still steeped in, like, I got to read my Bible. But the thing that I love about art and creating is that I don't owe it anything. I don't feel right? Like, I just get to show up as I am. And in theory, in Christianity, you do show up as you are, right? But I think we have some narratives, I have narratives that made me feel a lot of pressure, and made me feel like a failure if I wasn't doing it in this way. And so art freed me from that, right? It doesn't expect anything of me. It just is what it is. And so when I create, I'm like, leave it. Yes, take it, but it's really about what's happening in here in the conversations that I get to have with people. So I'm inspired by literature loosely, right? Like, I'm not about to sit up here and pretend like I read a whole lot. I don't. I mean, I have some books that I absolutely love. I do read, but I'm inspired by words. I'm inspired by music, the arts, and just like all textures, landscapes. I mean, just kind of what is different and unusual. I want to create experiences that are new to folks, right? And I don't believe that like I'm so unique, because I think I've learned, like, I do have an ego, right? And I'm like, this is my idea. I came up with it. And I'm like, oh, so you mean like this artist from back in the day, like they were too? Okay. So, right, like there's nothing really new or unique, but I try to think about how can I create this in a way that creates a new visual experience? Because I feel like we're so overstimulated and or understimulated because of social media, because of access to information, access to pictures, and this, that, and the third thing. So how can I create kind of new visual experiences where you can just kind of stand in front of a thing and be with it and see what you feel, or sit in front of, you know what I'm saying? Like, having that experience looking at and engaging in artwork. So those are kind of some of the things I'm inspired by. And of course, a couple of years ago, I started getting a little more, like, I have a tab on my phone of Black artists. So just learning about Black artists of old, historically, and Black artists contemporarily, and the work that they did to validate myself and my place as an artist, of like, oh, there were Black abstractionists, and like, oh, cool. And this is what they did, right? And so researching who they were and what they did and what their contribution to art and creativity was. And I just feel like, also, as a Black person, I was just talking, I can't remember who I was talking to, but when we think about historically, when I hear the stories of my aunts, my grandmother, my mom, I don't think we have had a choice but to be creative in how we live and survive, right? And so I don't know that, and I'm not saying that those are just conditions. I'm just saying, like, we're creative. We're so creative, and it might not look like art or anything, but when I think about the conditions that, my family, my ancestors were forced to live under, and surviving that, we so creative. Talk about resilience, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely, we are resilient, but we are creative too. Like, some of the meals my grandmother came up with, I'm just like, bro, that's creative. Like, give us our due. And I just feel like that goes in. I saw a thing last summer, at the height of like this, the 2020 resurgence of Black lives and Black lives mattering. And I saw a billboard where it's like, the world does not move without Black creativity. And it's absolutely true. Black people influence everything. I mean, when you look at it, when you think about music, when you think about arts and media, I'm not saying like we're superior. I'm just saying, though, like, know where it came from.
And let me tell you, y'all, if you're not watching the video, my whole body is into this conversation right now, because there's a couple of things that you said I have got to touch on. First of all, your title does not dictate like the money, the purpose. I think there's so many times that we stop doing something because we're not seeing the financial gain. We're not seeing the likes. We're not seeing the popularity of something, right? Your art and your love becomes something for other people instead of yourself. That's deep to me. When it becomes personal and it becomes very connecting to who you are, you start to shine in ways and things unfold just naturally. And I think that's what's so hard is that we're in this world where we're trying to compete against each other instead of be there for one another and learn our craft on our own. And I love that you talked about there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing that we're doing that is so unique. Somebody has created it at one point in time. But a lot of times we don't know that history. We don't know those stories, especially as Black people. We don't know those stories of the people that came before us because there is no documentation. There is no, their classes are not like, hey, let's learn about this person. We're very focused on the canon. And then it leaves us out of the story and we're not part of the narrative. And it becomes a lonely place. And you become kind of in this place where you're like, well, can I do this? Will it work? How do I do it? What does this look like? Or you're encompassing other places that you feel like this is how they do it, so I have to do it this way. And people get kind of caught into that. And so I love that you're talking about that and being able to be creative and inventive and know that this beauty of creation has come from somewhere in the past. And we need to be able to connect with that by learning our history, by learning how other people have connected with art and literature in such a poetic way. And I love that you're talking about this, and it gives people a chance to think about where they are in life. I don't know where you guys are at, who you're listening to this with, but if you know somebody that needs to hear this, send this podcast to them, okay? Y'all know how my saying is. Do not send them flowers. Do not give them, a card or buy them something expensive. Buy them something or send them something that's going to feed their soul, their mind, their spirit. There's so many times that we get lost in the things and we forget that we need to feed each other's soul. There's so many people that have put down a paintbrush or have put down the camera or have stop creating because they're doing it for everyone else. They're doing it for the title and they're doing it for the dollar. And you have got to learn that this thing has to go internal and it can't be for everybody else because you'll burn out.
Yeah, absolutely. And an observation of myself is anytime I step outside of what is natural in terms of my creative process, it's not ever the outcome that I want. And so when I show up to my artwork authentically, it gives. And so I learned that, and I'm learning, and I always have to remember that, right? Like that's a lesson. I don't, because I am on social media and I do follow people, and I follow people who have the notoriety and who have the ability, who have the likes, who have the monetization. And, it's easy to be taken by that. And so I have to ground myself in my practice. I have to ground myself in show up to my work authentic and honestly, and not that I do it for likes or for people, but I'm human. I'm like, shoot, if I could retire on this art thing, let's do
this.
You know what I'm saying? Like if a famous person get a piece of my artwork, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm not above it. I'm really not. But at the same time, I do have to just have that in the back of my head. Like,
absolutely. Because it grounds you. It grounds you and it keeps you doing what you love to do. You know what I mean? And it keeps you focused on who you are authentically. What is the challenge of being an artist here in Spokane? Let's start with that question.
I don't know. So I can tell you what some of my challenges have been. I don't know, because I've not really been an artist anywhere else. Like this passion was lived here. So I don't know if I'm a fair judge to say, like, I don't have enough experience outside of Spokane to say like this is a problem or this is But
Yeah.
let's just be real. Spokane is very white. So there's that.
There's that.
And so, and Spokane, Washington, Spokane in particular, when it comes to artwork. So, I have some of my artwork in from here, which is a shop that it has artwork from local, handmade artwork from local artists. And just even putting my work in that space, and it's nothing about the space, it's nothing about the organization, right?
Right.
It's everything about what Spokanites love, and they love stuff that is about Spokane.
Yeah.
And I don't make art really like that. My art isn't like, let me make I've tried it and people are like, oh, cute. But
Yeah.
I'm not one of the creatives that, creates this cool Spokane kind of cool stuff that people like, and I don't create like a soap or a lotion, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, the clean kind of
I think when it comes to like getting it in spaces for consumption, I just am like, oh, that's not really my call, my artwork per se. I don't, and it's not to say that people don't like it or don't jive with it. It's just like, it's all like, all my artwork is like, it's fine art pieces. They're all unique. I have prints, and I have some things that can be reproduced easily, but so I think that's one thing, right? Like I'm just, do I really want to do? And I have done like the fairs and stuff like that, and I've loved them. I think they serve a purpose, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know if that's my artwork though. I don't know if that is where it fits, because it's way too much. Honestly, for me, I'm like, this is a lot of work to like bust out 100 pieces. This fair in which, people may or may not connect with it. And I don't know if that's an excuse, but that's just me. That's just one challenge. And so I think another challenge is like, you have a lot of creatives in Spokane. We're all going after the same opportunities. I'm not saying that there aren't enough opportunities. I'm just saying that everyone wants to do the same thing. Or if you have like these big events, like people want to get into that. And so I'm not saying that it's competition or competition is stiff. I just think that in terms of having accessibility to getting your artwork out there, we're kind of like shooting for the same thing. I think those have been some of the challenges. And people hate, but this is a podcast. I mean, people are gonna watch it, right? So I'm Black. And I'm an artist in Spokane. So challenge. Right?
No, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think a lot of times when we think about the creative space that's here in Spokane, we think that, where is it? How do you get connected to it? How can you support it? And that was the thing for me. Like, I moved here from New Jersey, and there's just art and support everywhere. Like, I just feel like it's just very easy to be like, go online and be like, oh, I'm going to go to that, or I'm going to go to this. And it's like, amazing, and it's fun, and you really enjoy yourself. We're here in Spokane, I feel like you really have to dig sometimes to find the things that you connect with. And for me, I connect a lot with urban art. And I'm like, where are all the urban artists? Where are all these different people? How can I connect with them? And that can be a challenge at times. So what inspirational word do you have for people that are in this creative space and they are maybe thinking about really pushing themselves to the next level, or putting their artwork out there? Because there's a lot of people that have like hidden art. They just do not show anybody. What is your encouragement to people to just create?
Well, I would say do it. Just create. And if you want your artwork to, if your goal is to have it be forward facing, then I think you should seek for those opportunities that exist not only here, but in other places and other spaces, right? Like door to Seattle. We're next door to, and I know some of the smaller towns around the state have, good art scenes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So I would say, seek opportunities outside of Spokane as well. Like
Yeah.
Spokane is great. It has a great art scene, but there are other places outside of Spokane in which you can do that. Find organizations or groups to be a part of. When we talk about challenges, and when I said, like, I'm a Black artist, I think I would be remiss if I didn't say, right before the year before the pandemic, there was a person here, Diva, who created Shades of Me. And I thought that was huge for Spokane. Like, that was so huge that she was able to bring Black and brown artists in under her and use her resources and her skills to get us in spaces in which people wouldn't give us the time of day if had I gone and done that on my own. And so I really appreciated her work and her passion for people, for brown people, to show like visibility of who we are, and getting us into those spaces to be able to show our work and talk about our work and display our work and hear our stories. Like she did dinner with Shades, where people could come, have dinner and talk to the artists and hear our stories and things like that. And so I think that was like one huge thing for the community. And also the pandemic happened, and also kind of a huge loss, right? As it couldn't gain the traction probably needed. And so I would say, if there are folks out there who have ideas to do stuff, do it. Like, you do it. If you have ideas, do it. Find the people who are equally as passionate as you, and utilize one another's skills to be able to do that, right? Like, I don't necessarily like administration, but I love to create, and I love to come up with creative ideas. So build your team, get your team together in which you can do that. Because it's possible. And, talk to the right people. And, if you don't know who the right people are, talk to somebody who may know, like if you're watching this, I now work for Spokane Arts. So I might be someone you could talk to say like, oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Can I get you in contact with this person? And so I think there is, if you want to do it, do it. And it is not to say that challenges don't exist. It's not to say that people ain't raggedy, or that like, just because, people say all skin folk ain't kinfolk, all that stuff, just because we all Black, that don't really mean nothing, right? And so my suggestion is find the people who have the same passion, who want to see the same things that you want to do, and work through that. And y'all might not have to be besties or nothing like that, but if there's something you want to see, do it. And it's there will be challenges. That's the bottom line. It's going to be challenges. And so I'm not trying to paint this picture of like, if you want it, you can do it and it'll be great, because that's not true, right? No. But if you want it, work toward it. If you want to be an artist, if you want to paint, right? You're creative. I feel like everyone's a creative, right? Everyone can be an artist in their ways, right? So you don't have to wait for someone to tell you or give you an accolade to do that, right? So that's my kind of 2 cents.
Y'all, I'm so in tune with this conversation, because a lot of times we don't hear from artists. And I love that you brought up the Shades, how do you say it?
Shades of Me.
Shades of Me. Thank you. I want to make sure I say it correctly, because Diva is amazing, and she did a lot of great work. I actually went to one of you guys' events, and it was a wonderful experience for me to be surrounded by opportunities for Black artists to share what they're doing, and not just Black and brown artists coming together and doing different things. And so I'm truly appreciative of that, and I'm really glad that inspired you. What's the one last message that you want our listeners to hear as we close out this podcast about creating and developing something new in Spokane?
Well, I think I would just reiterate, if you have an idea, if you want to do something, do it. Try it. try it. The only thing that stops me from doing the things that I want to do is me. And again, it is not to say that there are not challenges. It's not to say that we have all of a sudden solved systemic racism,
Yes.
sexism, or any of those things, right? It's just to say, if there is something that you want to do, you got to go for it. If you feel the need to create within your soul, create. If you want to write a song, write that song.
Yes.
Start with some words. And the thing about it is, what I'm learning too, because I try to do a little bit of everything, right?
Yes.
So I do a little bit of music here and there, and that's the one where I'm just like, ugh, I hate it. I quit. But just keep going, because the thing about, as I am around other creatives and I've worked, like, what you see as that last final outcome, you don't even get to see all the stuff before. You don't get to see like all the pieces of paper I threw out, the canvases that's in the corner. You don't get to see the words of poems. That you only get to see that clean product. And so if creating something is what you want to do it, and do it for yourself. And then if it turns into something, it turns into something, right? Like I know that I can't sustain myself right now as a full-time artist. I still got to work. So I'm still working, and that's okay, right? I think I like clothes and shoes too much to even try to be an entrepreneur in that way. That's not my call. Some people, it might be, if that's your call, that's your call. But if there's something you want to do, a song you want to write, a poem, a painting, do it. Just do it.
Beautiful message. You guys, you have to remember that this is a process. Not only self is a process, creativity is a process, this life is a process. There is no periods, there's all commas. And I want to say, Shantell, thank you so much for stopping by. I wanted to be able to just take this time to just recognize your work and just thank you for the things you're doing in the Spokane community. I know there's so many artists out there that I'm hoping to get on this podcast and share their experience and share their story. I love doing this segment of Black voices in the community, because this is one of the ways that I can document the things that we've done. I think so many times we are in spaces and people don't even know what other people are doing. And I feel like this is my way of building a bridge, so that if you're out there and you're listening to this podcast series and you're like, I'm an artist, I feel alone, I feel isolated, I don't have anywhere to go, I don't have anybody to connect with, I hope these podcasts bring you life. I hope they give you hope, and I hope they give you an opportunity to network and connect with others so that you can see yourself in this community in such a genuine and brave and bold way. I want to thank you guys so much for listening. Shantell, where can people find you? You can just shout it out to Facebook or wherever. You guys, all our information will be down below this podcast.
I'm on Instagram, Shantell Renee J. I got a website. It's under construction, but still check it out. I'm on all the social media, Instagram mainly. Check me out.
Awesome. Thank you, Shantell, for coming. You guys, thank you for listening. And until next time, sending you all the strength and love, you guys. I cannot wait to continue on the series and meet new people that can really build our conversation and help us grow our community. Until next time, see you later, guys. Bye. Hi, this is Stephanie. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to my podcast segment today. I don't know if you live in the Spokane, Washington area, but we are encouraging everyone that owns a Black-owned business, at least 50%, to register their businesses with the Carl Maxey organization. You do not want to miss this. Check out their page and definitely enroll your organization or business to stay connected with our local community.